All right, so who can tell me what we've been talking about the last 4 weeks? Shape. What does shape stand for? What's the S?
Oh, it's not on your desk.
What's the H?
Hungry. Or
Heart. What's the A?
abilities.
All right.
Personality.
All right, so tonight we're on personality, the P in shape.
Ooh, there's a lot of personality in here.
Yes, there is. Try to rein it in for a second. All right, so the art of being yourself at your best is the art of unfolding your personality into the person you want to be. Be gentle with yourself, learn to love yourself, to forgive yourself, for only as we have the right attitude towards ourselves can we have the right attitude towards others. So tell me, do you ever compare yourself to other people?
No. Sometimes.
Okay. Do you ever compare yourself positively, or do you tend to compare yourself negatively to other people?
Positively.
Okay. So have you ever thought that maybe your friends like you specifically because of who you are? And even better, that God loves you exactly because of who you are. Many teens and preteens, for those who are not yet 13, Riley, hey, there's my Riley
I
comment
am
for this video.
13.
Believe their value comes from how they look, how they act in a crowd, or even the clothes that they wear. Cultural messages reinforce these misconceptions, but none of these are biblical. Just as God says you have your own unique gifts, a heart with its own passions, and a mix of abilities no one else can match, He also gave you a unique personality to use for His glory, no matter how weird you may be. And we do have some weird ones in this bunch.
He's talking about me, huh?
The dictionary defines personality as the combination of characteristics or qualities that form an individual's distinctive character. These characteristics affect the way you think, the way you feel, and the way that you act. There is no right or wrong personality for being used by God. The church needs all kinds of personalities because God does value variety. God didn't create other people to please you, nor did He create you to please other people. He made you simply to please Him. All right, so when we talk about personality, yes, Casey? Oh, hey, Michael.
I'll take you can.
Got it. All right, so when we talk about personality, there's two situations in which personality really comes into play. One is, how do you typically relate to other people? And the second is, how do you respond to opportunities? All right, so when we're talking about relating to other people, three variables that you can look at, and there's a lot of ways that you'll hear this defined, and you'll hear people talk about personality tests and different things. There's a lot of ways to determine personality types. But these are just some fairly common kind of comparisons that will help you identify what your personality is. So in relating to others, are you outgoing or are you reserved? And we'll go through each one of these so that you'll understand a little better. Are you expressive or controlled? And are you cooperative or are you competitive? So in outgoing or reserved, what I want you to do is in the middle section in the back, on the back of this form, you'll see personality. All these comparisons are going to be listed there. So as we go through them, I want you to circle which one best describes you. Okay? So outgoing or reserved, do you tend to, one, find ways to be part of the crowd? Two, build deep relationships with a few friends but not large numbers of people? Three, start conversations with people you don't know? Or four, avoid being part of a large group? And it could be two of the four. You're typically not going to be three of the four. Either one or two of those should describe you.
Well, where are you riding this? Where are you riding this?
Circle either outgoing or reserved.
Like where you get off, where you getting forth from?
That's what they mean.
These four scenarios are what defines outgoing versus reserved. So if you are number 1 and or number 3, then you're outgoing. Okay? So if you find ways to be part of the crowd or you start conversations with people you don't know, then you've got an outgoing personality. You may hear yourself described as being an extrovert. Okay? If you have a reserved personality, then you build deep relationships with a few friends, but not a large group of people. And you avoid being part of a large group, or you may hear yourself called an introvert. Okay? An extrovert is somebody who is outgoing, reaches out to other people, likes to be in a large crowd, likes to be the life of the party. An introvert is somebody who is more private, who keeps to themselves. Doesn't mean you don't have friends, but you typically have 3 or 4 really good friends, and then you have a lot of acquaintances maybe, but you don't consider a large number of people to be friends. And you avoid being part of a large group. You're uncomfortable in a large group setting. Okay? So that's outgoing versus reserved. Now, expressive or controlled, do you tend to feel free to share your feelings with people you just met? Do you withhold your thoughts and feelings from others at certain times? Do you seek opportunities to share your life with others? Or do you hold back so that only a few close friends can truly know you? Okay, again, number 1 and number 3, you're expressive. You feel free to share your feelings with people you just met. You seek opportunities to share your life with others. If you're controlled, then you withhold your thoughts and feelings from others at certain times, or you may hold back so that only a few close friends truly know you. And again, there's no right or wrong personality, it's just who you are. Okay? So we're not saying one is better than the other, or one is right or one is wrong, because there are strengths to each type of personality. Okay? Every group needs people with all these different variables. So this is just helping you to determine, when we take the spiritual gifts, we combine that with what you're passionate about, we take the abilities that we uncovered last week, and then we look at how your personality plays into those things. One of your abilities may have been to be a coach. But if you're introverted, then the opportunities to use that are going to be very different. You can still be a coach and be introverted, but the opportunities that you take may be very different from someone who's extroverted. You may prefer to coach basketball where you're dealing with 5 kids or 6 or 7 kids versus football where you've got to control 40 or 50 kids. So that's where personality plays a part in how all these pieces come together. So neither one of them is right or wrong. Neither one of them is better than the other. It's just you. And it's how God made you. And so what we're trying to determine is how you can best use the tools that God's given you to be of service to other people. Remember, that's the ultimate end to this, is to find out how we can serve other people and how has God made us to fit that unique piece. So controlled, withhold my thoughts and feelings from others at certain times, or hold back so only a few friends can truly know. And then cooperative or competitive. Do you tend to focus on making sure people feel comfortable when you're around them? Do you find importance in achievements? Do you look for ways to make others content or happy? Or do you embrace conflict and enjoy winning? And I can tell you, we've got both. This one, to me, I can almost point to you and tell you which one, watching you, I believe you are. This one more so than others. I might miss on extrovert, introvert, because you may be very extroverted within our group, but I may not see you, you may be introverted in a larger setting. Competitiveness, all I have to do is watch the pool table and the ping pong table and listen to the Yu-Gi-Oh conversations and the Beyblade conversations, or watch Michael play basketball or Casey play football. I can tell you whether you're competitive or cooperative. It's one of the easiest to identify.
Which one am I?
Competitive. 100%.
You see, in those two sentences, that makes me second guess. Like, especially number one. Because that's cooperative, isn't it?
Yeah. No, but now it's not to say that this is just what your stronger tendency is. This isn't to say you are, it's not black or white. It's not to say if you are one, you can't be the other. It's just to say that in a situation, what tends to come out. And so, you may want other people to be comfortable around you, but when put in a competitive situation, You want everybody to have a good time, but you still want to win. See, that's it. All right? So cooperative is focusing on making sure people feel comfortable when you're around them and looking for ways to make other people happy. Okay? Kaysen is very cooperative. If you watch, Kaysen doesn't really have a competitive bone. That doesn't mean he doesn't like to compete. He loves sports, he loves to compete, but he's very cooperative. If you watch him take his younger brother to play golf and you watch Kaysen hit bad shots on purpose so that it makes his brother feel better about his game, if you watch Kaysen go out to Fort Dale, you'll see him out there sometimes playing with Hayden, Coach Sampley's son. You know, Hayden loves to play soccer. And he loves to just take the ball out and kick it in the goal. And Kaysen will stand there and let Hayden score all day long. Okay? And it's because he wants Hayden to feel good. You know, Kaysen is just a cooperative person. He just has that natural spirit about him that, you know, now there are times when Kaysen's very competitive and he wants to win. But 6 out of 10 times, you're going to see the cooperative spirit come out in Kaysen. That's just the way you make it.
Some of those shots of Luke on purpose.
Well, yeah, I was trying to give him credit, but you know. All right, so competitive means that you find importance in achievement, that you embrace conflict and enjoy winning. That doesn't mean you like to fight. It just means that in a competitive environment, you would prefer to win than to let somebody else win. Even if you know it'll make them feel really good, you'd still rather win. That doesn't mean you always will. You may still let them, but deep in your heart, you really would like to win every game. Okay? So like I said, this doesn't mean, this is not strictly black or white. It doesn't mean that if you're one, you can't be the other. It doesn't mean that if you're one, you won't ever show the qualities of being the other. This is what's true at your personality, and like I said, this is individual to you. It's between you and God, how God made you. But it's when you truly boil yourself down to what's important to me, which side of that coin do you fall on? Is it the competitive side or is it the cooperative side?
I want us to give the example of when we're playing miniature golf as a family, how sometimes you'll say that you let us win, but in your heart, you know you really, really wanted to win.
Oh, I'm very competitive. There's no doubt. I'm very competitive. I'm in it for me. God forgive me. But I'm in it for me. Hey, that's the way God made me. I can't help it.
It's his
All right.
fault.
Do what?
It's his fault.
Yeah. All right. So that's 3 characteristics. So on your sheet, you've got around others. I tend to be outgoing or reserved, expressive or controlled, and then cooperative or competitive. All right. Now the next 5 are going to deal with opportunities. So when we're faced with an opportunity, are you more high risk versus low risk? Meaning, do you take chances or do you prefer to play it safe? Are you more people or projects? Are you more task-oriented and project-oriented, or would you rather be working with a group of people regardless of what you're working on? Would you rather follow or lead? Would you rather do it as a group or do it by yourself? And would you rather have routine tasks, or do you like a variety of things? Would you rather do the same thing over and over, or do you like to deal with change? Okay? So when we talk about high risk or low risk, do you tend to avoid radical changes, enjoy chaotic environments, excel when risk is very low, get motivated when you have the chance to overcome big obstacles? Like I said, this is you personally. And you will either be, one of these will really stand out, possibly 2 of them will stand out because 2 of them are going to be related to each other. The other 2 are going to be complete opposites. So you should not be 3 of these 4 things. You should be 1 really strongly or 2 pretty closely. All right? So if you're high risk, then you enjoy chaotic environments and you get motivated when you have the chance to overcome big obstacles. All right? If you're low risk, or you prefer to play it safe, that's what low risk means, then you avoid radical changes, you like the way things are going, and you excel when risk is very low. Safety motivates you. If you know there's no big chance of failure, you're more likely to act. Okay? So that's what it means when we talk about low risk. There's not a lot of risk of failure, there's not a lot of risk of danger. You're more likely to act when the risks are low. All right? People or projects, do you tend to embrace opportunities to work directly with other people? Do you look for ways to complete projects or tasks? Do you enjoy being involved in many projects at one time? Or do you enjoy working one-on-one or in a group regardless of the task? So if you're people-oriented, you embrace opportunities to work directly with other people, and you enjoy working one-on-one or in a group regardless of what you're doing. Your focus is more on who you're doing it with and the enjoyment of working with people. If you're task-oriented, then you look for ways to complete projects and you enjoy being involved in many projects at once. And again, just because you enjoy doing tasks doesn't mean you don't enjoy working with other people. It just means to you the task is more important, the project is more important. Or if working in a group is more important than whatever project you're working on, then you're people-oriented. Follow or lead. Do you tend to find yourself leading others? Do you feel comfortable when you can follow someone else's lead? Do you determine the direction for groups you're a part of? Do you experience fulfillment when you help others succeed? So if you follow, then you feel comfortable when you can follow someone else's lead, and you experience fulfillment when you help others succeed. Leaders find themselves leading others, obviously, and they like to determine the direction of the groups that they're part of. And that can be leadership in any way. Cody likes to tell me I'm manipulative in a group. I like to lead because I like to manipulate. I don't like to manipulate people. I do like to manipulate the direction of a conversation occasionally. And I will on occasion play devil's advocate just for the heck of seeing who I can rile up.
No.
It's fun seeing where people's passion lies. All right. So team or solo? Do you tend to enjoy being part of a team or group? Do you look for opportunities that allow you to work by yourself? Do you become energized by being around others? Or do you work most effectively when you're alone? So if you are a team person, then you enjoy being part of a team or group, and you gain energy from being around other people. If you're solo, then you look for opportunities that allow you to work by yourself, and you work most effectively when you're alone. Has everybody got that one? Routine or variety? Do you tend to be involved in many projects at one time? Do you prefer completing one project before starting another? Do you enjoy being responsible for a lot of tasks at the same time? Do you become overwhelmed with constant change? So again, routine would be you prefer completing one project before starting another, and you become overwhelmed with constant change. Variety, you would enjoy being involved in many projects at one time, and you would enjoy being responsible for a lot of tasks at the same time. All right. So let's go back a few slides. I want to see. So how many of you mark yourself as outgoing? Okay. So how many reserved? 7 of 3. Okay. All right. What about expressive? I would agree with that from that corner. All right. I would agree with that from Cody too. Controlled. Okay. All right. What about cooperative?
Yeah, right.
I would probably agree with that.
I own.
I would probably agree with that. What about competitive? Okay. And I would probably, I can see that. All right, so let's look at opportunity then. High risk. All right, low risk. Who prefers safety? Okay. Who prefers people? All right.
It was
Who
hard
prefers
for me for these last couple.
Yeah.
projects? Like I said, they're not black and white. It's just, preference. All right. Who prefers to follow? Okay. Lead. All right. Team. Solo. Okay. Routine. Variety. Okay. All right. Now, did you notice, there may have been a couple of instances, but I was trying to keep track, and as y'all raised your hand on that first group, I tried to watch to see did the same ones raise your hand in the second combination. And I don't think, if there may have been 2 of you that were the same throughout every measure. There were no more than 2 of you that were the same on every measure. I don't think that there were any. I think everybody was unique in at least one combination. So that's what I was trying to watch for. So if you were, 7 and 3 in that first group, I tried to watch those 7 and see how many of you disagreed over that second variable, and I tried to keep watching. I don't think there's anybody in this room that was identical on all 8 measures. There was at least one measure where you differed from whoever you shared every other measurement with. There was at least one measure where you differed. Okay? So what does that tell you?
We're all different.
Okay? It talks to how unique you are, right? The Bible talks about how God made us to be unique. So what's the most important thing to take from this lesson on personality? Jasani's reading my screen over here from behind my shoulder. To be yourself, right? All right? Don't try to copy someone else's personality, but be the best you that you can be. Because what we've seen just in this little exercise is that none of your personalities are identical. Even though on 7 characteristics you may be identical to somebody in this group, on that 8th characteristic you were different. And so that means the opportunities for you to serve and the ways that you can serve may be drastically different. Because even though in the characteristic you may not, it's not black and white, so if you're competitive, that doesn't mean you can't also be cooperative. But if you're competitive, you're going to look for specific opportunities. You may look for sports opportunities where that competitiveness can kind of push through and drive it. If you're cooperative, you may look more at an RA or a GA or a Mission Friends type opportunity, where you can work with younger kids to help them get better. Okay? So there's a different motivation in those based on what your personality types are. Okay? So you honor God when you accept the unique personality that He's given you and you use it for His glory. Remember the verse from Ephesians, for we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared us in advance to do. All right, so in shape, we've talked about spiritual gifts, heart, which is our passion, abilities, personality. Next week, we'll talk about experiences. Each week, think of the area of study as a specific color God is using to bring out the clarity of your masterpiece. As your masterpiece takes shape, realize that your personal shape is God's gift to you, and how you use it is your gift to God. Okay? So we have learned already, even just tonight, if the last 3 weeks in talking about spiritual gifts, hearts and passion, and abilities, if you were just like somebody else in this room, we've learned tonight that nobody in this room is identical. Because when it came to personality, everybody had some difference. There was some unique characteristic. So even if you came into tonight thinking that you were just like somebody else in this room, you're going to leave here tonight knowing that you are different. That God has made you unique. That your combination of spiritual gifts, heart, ability, and personality is different than everybody else that you're sitting with. So the opportunities for you to take those and use them in service to others to honor God may be very different. And you may want to look at opportunities that are very different from the person sitting next to you, because the combination of those 4 characteristics, and we're going to add experiences next week. The reason that I went ahead and gave you the handout, now I'm not going to give you, I'll tell you in 2 weeks what the spiritual gifts are. Hopefully you've still all got your numbers for your spiritual gifts.
I didn't know.
I haven't done one bit of it.
I can't find mine.
Man, this is summer.
We will go back and we will refresh on spiritual gifts. And when you see, I think you'll be able to identify. All right? Your heart, I want you to go ahead and use Fill out the heart portion, fill out the abilities portion, you've got the personality. All right, if you still have your spiritual gifts, then go back and put the numbers of what those gifts were. And then we'll find out. If you don't, then we'll get you the information you need to go back and determine what your spiritual gifts were. All right? But I want you to have this so that you can think, because experience is something that you have to put some time into. Okay? It's not something that you're going to be able to come in here. Now, we're going to talk about it next week. But it's not something that you can come in here and we can do a quick exercise to tell you what your experience has been. Okay? Because your experience is your life up to this point. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 42 years. Whatever that is. 41 for me, 42 for Cody. Just had to say that. Whatever that is, your experience is all of those things that you have done that stand out in your mind up to this point. All right, so I wanted you to have the handout so that you can go ahead and write down what your spiritual experience is, how you became a Christian, maybe some painful experiences that you've had. Maybe it was losing a friend, maybe it was losing a family member, maybe it was some other challenge that you had to overcome, and then a past experience that you've learned from. Now, I'm not going to ask you to share these next week, but I want you to put some time and think about it. And if there are things that you want to discuss next week, then we want to have the opportunity to do that. We'll go through, just like we have so far, what the book talks about with experience. But experience is something that you have to reflect back on what brought you to this point. So I'm not going to ask you all to share, but I want you to take the time this week to keep this and go through and just think through what are some of those experiences that you feel like God has brought you through to put you where you are today. What lessons has God taught you, and how did He teach you those lessons to get you where you are today? All right? So next week we'll talk about experiences. On the 11th, I don't know if we have Wednesday night service during Bible school week. Do we? Okay, we'll just play games. But we will do a refresher on spiritual gifts for those who don't still have their number. We'll go back through that on the 11th so that you'll have spiritual gifts. And then on the 18th, instead of doing it on Wood Valley Wednesday at our house, we just want to have fun when we're at the house. We're going to watch a movie and cook hot dogs and just play games. So on the 18th, we'll go through and make sure everybody has a completed profile, okay? Then if we need to have conversations on the 25th, one-on-one or whatever, we'll have time to do that. But when y'all come to the house, we just want y'all to have a good time. Play basketball, we'll have wiffle ball, different games in the yard. We'll cook hot dogs, have a fire in the fire pit. So y'all are just invited over to the house on the 25th just to kind of socialize and get to know each other and have some fun for summer. All right? So does anybody have any questions on personality? Do you feel like the measurements that we went through tonight pretty well describe you? I mean, did anything open your eyes, or was it pretty much what you thought it would be?
Yeah.
That's not a yes or no question.
Yes.
Did anything open your eyes, or was something not what you thought it would be? How do you answer that, yes or no?
Yes.
Like that.
All right. So, yes, it was what you thought it would be?
Yes.
Okay. Yes over here was what you thought it would be? Okay. What was different?
The way it was set out, the way it was put.
Was there a specific characteristic that
The way it was put on the paper.
okay.
The way it was ordered.
But I mean, was there one comparison that when you were asked the way we were tonight, that you thought differently than what you normally would have? Okay. All right. This was eye-opening to me because there were a couple of characteristics, like I said, I typically wouldn't describe myself as competitive. I joke about it in here, but I really don't see myself as being a competitive person.
I do.
I don't see myself as being a competitive person. Comments from the peanut gallery, notwithstanding. But reading through it, I am. I would prefer to put myself in a situation where I can win. Okay? In business, that's kind of a good thing. In a leadership position, is you want to be in a position where your company wins or where you succeed. Now, there are limits, like we said, just because, a lot of times you'll hear competitiveness described as a bad quality. Everything can be taken to an extreme. We're not talking about these as if they're extremes. We're just talking about what is your tendency. So competitiveness is not a bad quality. competitiveness taken to the extreme to where you would rather hurt somebody to enable yourself to win, that's a bad quality. The same as cooperativeness, allowing yourself to be walked over and stepped on to allow somebody else to win, that can be a bad quality. It can be abusive on either side. So when we talk about these qualities and these characteristics, we're not talking about good or bad. Like we said, there is no good or bad personality where these 8 measurements are concerned. It's just what you are. And if you're honest with yourself, you can kind of see how those pieces go together. So there's no right personality, there's no wrong personality. It's just different measurements to help determine who you are. And I'm really glad to see that in the 10, 11 of us, there's 11 different overall personality types. Nobody out of the 11 had the same combination. Now, a couple of you did have 7 of the same, but there was at least one in every case, I'm almost positive, that differentiated us. That's a hard word to say, differentiated.
Differentiated.
I'm just gonna let you say it from now on. Casey, hit the record button for me. On the back.
So you haven't done it yet?